We're having fun here. All right. So again, welcome to the Transformational Living Talk. And I was just making a quote and a comment about a great mentor by the name of Stephen Covey. If you haven't read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it's an amazing read. And it's one of those reads to where when you start reading it, it'll definitely have you studying it out and applying it in your life. But one of the things he talked about here in this area is being proactive versus reactive in our lives. And why that topic is crucial for tonight, because if we're going to talk about transformational living, and that means going from where we were in our life and how we were living, reacting to things, bouncing off. I was talking to Tanya, I think the other night, or someone, about how you can either, one, be the pinball in the game, or you can be the person playing the actual pinball machine. Which one do you want to be? Do you want to be bouncing around in life and having things done to you constantly? Or would you rather be the person actually playing the game and enjoying it? Again, this transformational living is about flipping the script and about transforming to the other side. And so the reactive mind is seeing how things are happening to them. Thank you, Sherry. Playing the game. That's right. I'm reading some chats that are coming in. And the proactive mind is acting on life. It's actually seeing that things are not happening to you. They're happening because of you. Because the choices that you make add up to what you have. And in some ways, I know that I'm going to challenge people's thoughts a little bit here, because there's definitely, I can tell you when I'm going to share some things tonight that I know are going to lead to other conversations. Okay, let's put it that way. And there's going to be a lot of head shaking going on like this. And then some of it will be like, yeah, all right. And so this is about us collaborating. And I'm going to open this mic up tonight and have some people be able to share. And if it gets a little too deep and a little too hot and heavy, I might say, let's take that offline and talk one-on-one. Because I do want to kind of keep this moving for the greater good of the group. And I am looking at us, again, building this to the point where I may have to break this into 2 or 3 different conversations. I can see based on who's logged in, and I can see based on who's on camera, that there's about 20 people or so, whereas last week there's about 12. Okay, so we're already crowing over here. But when we talk about proactive thinking, it's about actually happening on life. And if you think about this, what is going on in your life right now? The garbage and the good stuff is actually a side effect of the choices and decisions you made. The person you chose to be in a relationship with, there's probably one area you couldn't control a lot, and that's who your parents were exactly, right? But I'm talking about the adult life here. We basically get to choose what it is that we decide to take on as a belief system. And it's very important that we actually consider who we choose to be around, what we choose to be around, and how we choose to be around it, whatever that is. And so I was talking about this. I want you to picture the reactive mind. The reactive mind has,
Okay, good.
let me go ahead and mute whoever this is. Remember, we can all hear you. All right. So, another one mute here.
Oh, okay. Hi. Sorry.
These lines. Think we got them all? All right. All right. So the reactive mind basically has things that are happening to them, and then what ends up happening is that a stimulus happens. And I want you to picture all of a sudden you're at work, and a boss walks up to you and dumps a pile of paperwork on your desk and says, I need this done in the next hour. Or somebody basically crashes their car into your car, okay? Or someone tells you something you don't like. The reactive mind says, I don't have a choice. I have to lash out back. I have to go talk about that boss at the water cooler with the other employees. I have to be ticked off that this person hit my car, ruined my day. Oh my goodness, this is setting me so far back. I have to lash back at this person. And the proactive mind on the flip side actually has a little more space between the stimulus that happens, whatever that is, and the response. The proactive person chooses responsibility. And I want to talk about this word tonight because it's going to be key and instrumental in transformation. Because until a person takes responsibility for their life and their choices, it's really hard to feel like a success. It's really hard to be a success because everything's happening to you all the time. You're never feeling like you're in the driver's seat. You're never feeling like you're in charge or in control. And I will tell you, I believe that control is a facade. All right, and that's a personal opinion, but at least we can pretend for a while that we're in control and have some sense of it, all right? And that's another philosophical discussion, right? But we do have a lot of influence, let's put it that way. Can we all agree that, like, in that way, that we have a lot of influence in our life and the choices that we make influence, okay? So with this said, here's where I was going with this. That proactive person actually has that gap, and I want you to picture car crash, mother, father, teacher, preacher, somebody says something to you, you don't like it, a spouse, a significant other, a friend, whatever it is, a stimulus happens that is not what you were hoping for in your day, okay? Stimulus. That gap between that stimulus and the choice, the next thing you say, the next thing you do, how you think, how you choose to act, that is your responsibility. That's your ability to choose your response. That's what responsibility means. It's two words. So the responsible person says, I'm able to actually choose what I'm going to think next. Have you ever heard the saying, happiness is a choice? You've heard it. I'm not saying you agree with it. Some people believe it, though. And have you ever heard of a man by the name of Viktor Frankl? Anybody heard that name? Just give me a head nod, yes or no. Either way. Viktor Frankl was a Jewish man who was imprisoned in Nazi Germany. And Viktor Frankl was a victim, if you will, and they did sex experiments on his body. They took his genitalia and they did these things to experiment on. It sounds gruesome already, doesn't it? It's pretty gross. He wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And he goes around and he talks today, and he's on it, and he's very old now. I'm not even sure if he's still alive. A couple years ago he was. But he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And he says, you know what I learned in that concentration camp while I was a prisoner, while all these things were quote unquote happening to me, was I found freedom in that camp. I found complete liberation. He says, because though these ignorant people that did not know what they were doing, but they were following mindlessly the society that they had been raised in, were quote unquote doing this to me, I realized that though they could do this to my body, they could not have my mind, and they could not make me hate them. They could not make me and take away the part of me that I believed in, the love that I had, the grace that I had, the part of me that basically could choose what I wanted in my life. Now, as I was reading this story, I got to tell you, I'm in tears because you don't know where he's going with this as you're reading it, and it's so intense. And what I remember in this story was that I have never had anything like this happen to me in my life. And everything that ever had happened to me seemed completely insignificant at that moment in time. You know what I'm saying? Can you compare? I couldn't compare my worst yet to what he was going through because it got worse than what I already explained to you. I just gave you the cliff notes of the story. And he says, though they did this to my body, they could not take my soul. They could not captivate me fully. Now, fortunately, Victor actually was rescued during the end of the war. And he went on to write this amazing book, and he's gone on and done keynotes and speaking. And obviously, he's an older man now. And I encourage you to consider that there is a level of responsibility that each of us can have. Again, that thing that happens and that gap in between is our ability to choose our response. The proactive person acts on life and says, this is happening for me. The proactive person says, life is my teacher and my tutor. This too shall pass, and once it does, I will use it as my fuel and my fire to move me forward to the next level. You only have failure if you quit and you give up. You've heard the saying maybe that Thomas Edison had. He said that, boy, I figured out 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. because that's how many failures that were estimated in the process of that. What if he'd have given up? That's what would be happening if he'd given up, right? We have all this greatness, all these things because of trial and adversity. All right. So with that in mind and with that said, I want to talk to you tonight about being productive in your life. And when I say productive, I don't mean productive like you get a lot of things done only. I'm talking about producing the kind of results that you want in your life that make the most sense for what matters to you. And to do that, I'm going to encourage you to take from tonight a chance to dream weave for a moment for yourself. Because there's a lot of doubt out there. There's a lot of scarcity mentality. Some people call it scarcity. But there's a lot of scarcity. But in reality, there's abundance available to us. See, I've got this, I wasn't planning on showing this to you, but some people are worried that, oh no, I'm getting low on water, so I better conserve it. And some people are saying, you know what? I better drink this water so I have enough energy so I can go look for more water. And one person is barely making it by because they're protecting every dollar they have. They're protecting their heart so much that they're afraid to put themselves out there to love another person or to get into a relationship with other people that they might get hurt. But the abundant person says, I need these experiences. I need to learn. I have to get out there in my life. I have to say the things I feel. I have to find out who really matters to me and who I really matter to. You see the difference on the flipping the script again? And what does that mean when I say flip the script? All right. So a script is something that, a screenplayer might write, right? A script might be something that's playing in your head. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You got to be this weight to be sexy and creative, and you have to have this much money. Flip the script says, you know what? I'm amazing. I've got my life. I've got my breath coming in and out of my nose. I can be a friend, and I can be and do and move forward in my life to more things. Okay, so you get where that's going. So here's the challenge. I want you to challenge the status quo. And to do that, I'm going to ask you to dream weave. And I'm going to ask you to get out a piece of paper, whether it's now or whether it's sometime this evening, and take 10 minutes. And you can start it now if you'd like to. I'm going to show you something that I use for being very productive. I've got it on the other side of this sheet, sneak peek. And I'm also going to email everybody this document, okay? And I have your emails because you obviously made it to this, all right? But I'd like you on a piece of paper to write at that top what I want. That's what you want to put up there. What I want and why it matters to me. And once you get what you want and why it matters to you on that, you want to start taking a look at that. And I gave you a way to kind of look at this last week. And the way I kind of gave you to start getting in that creative mind, does anybody recall? I'm just curious if somebody wants to just unmute and share what that little thing I showed you and I explained to you if you want to figure out what really matters to you in life. Anybody remember? Anybody brave enough to just throw it out there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so if I don't know if I'm on the right track, but what stuck out to me is when you used the scenario of if you were dying and what would your life flashes before your eyes. What are you going to see? Are you going to see what you wanted your life to be? So I'm pretty sure that's what you're talking about.
Ashley, you're right on track, girl. And that's it. When you watch that last little highlight reel of your life going by, what do you hope is on that highlight reel? What do you want to be seeing as you're taking those last few breaths? And I tell you what, when you're writing out that what do I want, what matters to me, that's a great little exercise to do. And let's just call it an exercise for now. It'll be a reality at some point in time in our life. And I'm not scared to talk about death. And the reason why I'm not scared to talk about death is because it's the one thing that's helped me really get into living. The fact that I actually consider my mortality every single day, not in a scared way, but in an abundance way. Can you see how some people are so afraid of death, but then they're so afraid to live because they're so afraid of death? Whereas those who are afraid to thrive and live, or who consider death, I use it as a tutor and a teacher to say, What matters to me? What will my life be for today? So as you're writing out your list, I ask you to consider on that list the things that you would like to see on your highlight reel as you leave this present time. All right. Something's dropping there. All right. So the other thing I like you to do at the bottom of the paper is write somewhere down there, my current reality. And I want you to kind of list out some things, and your current reality can be in two different areas. Some of you who have coached with me in regard to your health or in regard to, getting down to a healthy weight or balancing your energy out, we might talk about your weight. We might talk about your energy. We might talk about how fit you are and those kind of things. But I'm actually going to challenge you a little bit differently than in this one. Your current reality in the state of your mind is what I want you to think about. How do I feel now? Am I somebody who's pretty anxious? Do I have a hard time shutting my mind off? Am I always feeling like I'm in a hurry? Do I always feel like something's missing? Is there always some kind of gap in between how I want to feel and how I actually feel now? Or do I feel a lot of fulfillment, a lot of actualization that I've realized I'm realizing my potential? Do I feel the success? And try and use some descriptive words to describe your current reality of emotions, feelings. Do you feel reactive? Do you feel proactive? Do you feel organized? Do you feel disorganized? So name some character traits about what represents your life. And if someone was going to say, Alex, I've watched your life for the last month, and this is my highlight summary of what I saw. So think about that from the observer. Now, I want to introduce you all to another part, a very good helper. And this helper I want to introduce you to is called the observer. And the observer is actually you sitting out over there watching you act in life and do things in life. How many of you have ever heard of the observer self before? Okay, so the observer self is the part of you that's aware that you exist. It's the part of you that's aware that we're having this conversation. And it's the part of you who, if you listen to the observer more often, you'd catch yourself in conversations and you'd shut yourself up quicker sometimes. And you'd catch yourself in other conversations and you would tell yourself, you need to say something sometimes. You know what I mean? And it's usually that part of you that in hindsight starts talking to you and says, boy, you shoulda, should have said this or you shouldn't have said that. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's that reasoning part. Well, what's nice if you learn to get in touch and in tune with that other voice and you start to understand how to use it properly. And I will tell you for me, and I'm just going to be right up front since this is about transformational living, I like to listen to God. I'm just going to tell you right up front. Higher power, higher energy than myself. Something that I believe has created who I am, and I believe it's ascribing me and bringing me, when I say ascribe, I'm talking about writing and moving me forward to the higher person I want to be, the higher self. So whoever the observer is for you, talking about that observer voice that basically seems to be a voice of reason. And when you start to consider that, I want you to actually ask literally that observer to take inventory of your life for the last week. If you can go to a month, that's great. I think a week's probably a good enough frame for you to kind of remember some things. And that will give you, so I'd say, hey, observer self, let's be honest for a moment. Let's have a Dr. Phil get real moment here. How have I been this last week? Observer's like, you got that pile of paper sitting on your desk, and you've got that email inbox is kind of full, and that thing you said to your wife yesterday, and how you didn't get that done and that done, and you know what I mean? Okay. Or, Alex, you really, really did have that list. Look at your checklist and look at the things. Okay, so that's what I mean. You get it. All right, moving on. Take a look at your current reality. Now, the thing in between, and this is important, the thing in between, because I said at the top of that paper, you've got that spot where you have the, what's it called? Somebody tell me. You can unmute just for a second, just to say it. Nobody's brave. Come on.
Current reality.
Thank you. No, the top.
Oh. Dreamweave.
Yeah, and what do we call that? there's a title, What I
Want.
That's right. So the dream weaving's the whole thing that we're doing right now, and kind of visioning what do we want. Yep, exactly. So what I want and why it matters, right? Perfect. And then what's at the bottom, which was already said, thank you, Lorraine, is my current reality. And you want to see if there's a gap, because if there's a gap between what you want and what you desire and your current reality, that creates some tension, doesn't it? That tension can actually be really good if you want it to, because tension is actually what holds us upright. If we didn't have these ability to actually have tension, we'd just be a pile of, you wouldn't see me, we'd just be a pile. We don't want to be a pile, we want to be erect, right? Dun, 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 dun. So take that for what you will. But moving on. So we want to make sure that we actually have the tension that we need to move ourselves and to catapult us forward in our life. And that can be a positive thing if we look at it that way. Or for some people who have that tendency to be reactive, what would be the opposite of having it be a positive, compelling thing? Anybody want to share what that might be? Instead of being positively compelled, what would be the opposite of taking that tension the wrong way?
It could depress you. You could be overwhelmed by it.
Is that Sherry Perry?
Yes, sir.
Right on. It could depress you. I don't have. When's this going to happen? It just seems so hard. It's so long. I don't have what I want. You know what I mean? And that's a reactive mind. Who taught us that? Where does that come from? And I tell you what, before you have something, you don't have it. And people who actually work for their stuff actually appreciate it and tend to keep it longer. Have you guys noticed that people that win the lottery or get some big sports contract but don't know how to actually have any character, integrity, or work hard, that they seem to have a lot of trouble and struggles in their life? You guys ever see these young pop stars that get a lot of fame and they're not mature yet to know how to deal with that? It's crazy. Well, we don't want success before we deserve it. And I'm telling you that because it won't really be success. It'll come and go and you'll not even know how to manage it. Does that make some kind of sense? There's a reason we're at where we're at. There's a reason why we're in the struggle. So we want to look at the tension as a positive. The tension is giving us enough of that move to push us forward. So again, the bigger your goal, the desire, I'm going to push it so high you can't even see it on the screen. Some people call it a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, okay? Big old goal. And you've got the farther away you are from that, the farther that is, that gap right there, that gives you that tension. And for a lot of people, unfortunately, that tension is called frustration or anxiety. And we want to flip the script again. We want to make that compelling. We want to make that excitement. We want to make that opportunity. So I want you to take away the word frustration and anxiety, and I want you to put the word opportunity and being compelled, catapulted, the catalyst. That's what we want to start saying. And what we want to put in there so that we can actually be compelled to move forward are the proper action steps. So we want to make a list of step 1, step 2, step 3, just like stairs moving up to where we want to go. And that's what we want. And we want to make sure the first stepping stone, that first stair that we stand on, is proven. And we want to make sure that it's something that's a low enough barrier that we actually are willing to take that step and we can see some success. Now, I will say, using a coach, having a mentor, and I've already told each one of you, if I haven't already, that I'm here for you to support you. You've got me. And literally, I'll charge you twice as much as I charged you last time for my coaching support, which is nothing. All right? And maybe sometimes people don't value things that are nothing because there is something involved. There's reciprocity involved. I want something back from you. I want your love and your support and your relationship. I want to link arms with you too. At the same time, I do want you to know that unless you have that support structure to help you up properly, to ensure that you're doing the things at the right time in the right place, it's easy to turn that script back over and see the anxiety, the fear. How many of you, just by nods heads, have started with the best of intention and all of a sudden look back behind you and all of a sudden kind of want to start walking back down those stairs? Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you wanted to, but you kind of I'm seeing some head nodding. Like, or we see some other shiny, flashy thing, like you've got the step that you're supposed to take, you've got the plan we've talked about, and all of a sudden some commercial comes on, some TV show comes on, and somebody else got some success with something else, so I'm just going to quit and go do that now. And then I'm going to go do this now. How many of you have ever done that? Been reacting to your life and bouncing around, pinballing from thing to thing with no focus, no resolve and true commitment to persevere through that. One thing happened with my daughter, the squirrel, thank you, Scott, squirreling around, squirrel, right? And one thing happened with my daughter, she joined a school called VSAA, Vancouver School of Arts and Academics, great school. She took a dance program. Well, she didn't like the way the teacher was teaching, and the art program got something, and then the English class was hard. So what does she want to do as a little kid? Dad, I want to go back to Thomas Jefferson. So, there's some something got hard. Well, and her math teacher was really aggressive with her. So I said, well, let's take a look and see why you're having such a challenge. And I'm not going to go into the whole story, but long story short, I said, no, we're going to stay in this school for the whole year. We're going to help you. And you know what? If you want to switch schools at the end of the year, I'd like to see you have pretty much all A's and a B. And once we start doing that, then we'll consider making the switch. Well, all of a sudden, all her grades are almost all A's. She's learning to literally. It's like one or two B's on the report card. She's starting to resolve things with her teacher. We've gone in and had some meetings. We've been constructive. So sometimes, even though the thing that you're trying to avoid because it seems hard or whatever can sometimes be your best teacher and tutor just to stay committed to it. All right. So those stepping stones on the way towards your goal are key. Now, this is a group transformational living talk, so I'm keeping it fairly general because once we flush out your specific what matters to you and why that matters most, and once we look at your current reality, we can then individualize your plan. And as your coach, it's my role in your life to help you reflect on that. And also, because I'm coaching a lot of people, let you know some of the efficiencies and some of the effective things and to help you proof that. Not to tell you it's wrong or right, but to say, hey, consider this. You ultimately get to make the decision. I'm your guide and your support on your journey. So with that in mind, what I'd like to do is I'd like to say, start this process. I'm going to send you this, what's called, actually, you know what? I'll show it on my screen. Let me show you a couple things on my screen. And then we're going to open this up for a little group chat. The first thing I want to show you, can you guys all see this right here? Somebody nod their head that you can see it.
The screen's black.
Screen's
I can see
black. All right, well, let me go ahead.
I can see it now.
What's that?
I think we can see it. I can see it now.
Okay. Does it say stop, challenge, choose at the top?
Yes.
Okay, so those moments you're feeling a little bit of pressure or tension from that food that's jumped in front of your face when you're trying to lose weight, or the moment you see some kind of like opportunity to just take an extra nap in the day and you've got a project you're trying to work on, you might have to do a little stop, challenge, choose. At the top of it, you see the desired outcome. At the bottom of it, you see the current reality. You see the arrow representing the tension that's going to move you forward, and you see the actions over here that we're going to create. And notice a really, really important D word on the right side. What's that word?
Date.
Date. We want to make sure that we give ourselves some sense of a time frame. Now, some people, again, when they put a date to stuff, they get anxiety. Oh, no. Okay? But that's usually because it's stuff that they don't know how to do, don't know exactly. They're not really connected to why they do it. Because I guarantee you, you like having dates on things in your life. I'll give you a proof of that right now. Someone tells you you've just won a trip to the Bahamas or a trip to Hawaii or a trip to England or something like that. Okay? When do you want to know?
When?
When? We like dates. We just don't tend to like dates for things that we don't know how to do or that we're not excited about doing. That's where that anxiety starts to come in. So whatever we're going to put on this action plan, we have got to be so passionately connected to why we're doing it that it actually compels us. I don't mean you actually like what you're doing. I don't mean you have to like it. You just have to be passionately connected to why you're doing it. Does that make sense? I'm inviting you all over for a party to my house, as an example. Okay, and I'd like for you to come over. Maybe in a week or two we could actually have one. but I'm going to invite you over for a party in my house. And I come to find out that my toilet's full of yuck. Right? I don't like cleaning toilets, but I definitely don't like my guests seeing a yucky toilet. Does that make sense? So I am compelled to make sure that toilet is fired up clean before you come over there. And I don't mind setting a deadline on that because it's going to resolve the tension. If I set the deadline too far out, a bunch of guests coming over going, Alex is nasty, right? I don't want that. All right, I'm using some graphic thing in your life because I want you to realize all that stuff you've been avoiding doing, it's because you haven't been clear about why you're doing it, or it doesn't really matter to you and you need to get it off your list. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I want to help you with moving things forward and putting things on your list that really matter, whether you like them or not, that makes sense. Can you all see this form right here called High Performance Academy?
Yes.
Brendan Bouchard is a local Portland guy. He's a great guy, very successful, mentors a lot of successful people, a lot of people who are business experts. I've been reading his books. I held up his book last week here called The Charge. It's an amazing book. It's a New York Times bestseller. And The Charge Life, this one is a New York Times bestseller. And The Charge Life is about activating the 10 human drives that make you feel alive. And it talks about moving from being in the caged life or the complacent life to living a fully charged life. Well, Brendan gave me this high performance one-page productivity planner a while back, and I used it to organize to make sure that the things that are really a priority to me, the things that I say that matter most, actually get done. Because there's way too many things popping up and trying to take me off course. I don't know about you, but I can get distracted. There's a lot of stuff information-wise coming in our heads nowadays. So this form I'm going to send to you, but notice where it says project number 1, project number 2, project number 3. If you don't have projects, you can retitle that important thing that matters to me, number 1. Important thing that matters to me, number 2, and so on. If you don't like the word project, it's too sterile. The key thing, though, it says is what are the 5 big things I must do to move this important thing forward in my life? And you want to get clear. And if you don't know, guess who you can turn to help you? Your coach, your support team. So the people, this is important. Life is about relationships and people and relating to things and relating to nature and relating to a lot. Who are the people that I need to reach out today and list the ones that really are going to impact your desired goal? So if I have an important goal that I desire and I say this is what matters to me, I have to identify who do I need to reach out to allow me to move forward and put their names so that you do not avoid contacting those important people in that day. People I'm waiting on. Who did I give information to or ask for information and I have not heard back from them? Keep them on your radar screen until you resolve that tension. Priorities. The main things I must complete today, no matter what. List the things that you must do to accomplish your goals that align with what matters. I do not mean a to-do list. This is not a to-do list of my laundry or the other things I'm talking about. Unless your laundry is one of those projects or important things on your top list, okay, that needs to get done. I get it, okay? But what I'm talking about are those high priority things. Notice at the bottom, well, you probably can't read it. It's too small, but it gives you a very, very important beware. Does anybody want to take a stab at what the beware is talking about and what it says you want to watch out for and make sure you don't get trapped in? Anybody have an idea?
Read it?
What was that?
Did you intentionally block it so we can't read it?
Are you asking me if I intentionally blocked it so you can't read it?
Yeah, you did. You did. I would say email or probably just the normal interruptions. Email mostly for me.
Hey, you hit it. That is huge. Anything, it could be not email for everybody, but your text messages, your Facebook, your email, those things that start popping in and they start robbing you of your priorities. They start robbing you of what's important. And I'm not saying that there's not a time for Facebook or checking your emails. However, you want to start acting on life and acting on your plan when you get up. And I'll share with you guys next week what a day in my life looks like to be productive. And I'll look at, you already know what it looks like when it's not productive. Pick up that phone and start doing this in the morning. First thing, if you're automatically addicted to doing that automatically, then what happens is you haven't been putting your mind on that top priority. One thing I love about this sheet right here is it'll help you to learn and focus. And if checking your email is one of those things that you have to check and see if a particular person got back to you, great. But before you do any of that, I encourage you the night before you go to bed to fill out one of these sheets, or the first thing when you wake up, ideally the night before you go to bed, to fill out one of these sheets of what you want to create in your life tomorrow. All right. With that said, I want to open up the lines, and I want to basically say, I'd like to, if you want the support and you want to opt in, I'd love for you to fill out one of these sheets that I email you. And as a matter of fact, I even do something better for you. If you have a pen and paper, you can write this down right now. It's highperformanceacademy.com. highperformanceacademy.com /HPA for High Performance Academy dash, which is a hyphen, dash 1 page productivity. The number one, the word page, productivity .pdf. I'll repeat it one more time. www.highperformanceacademy.com /HPA dash 1 page productivity .pdf. P as in Paul, D as in David, F as in Frank. All right.
Can you do me a favor?
Favor, yes, coming up.
Well, okay. Can you send me that link? Because I couldn't understand it, and I can't write as fast as you're talking.
Yeah, no worries. And
Okay,
I've also recorded this conversation for you all to just totally revel in and see, if you want to go back and look at something. So great. I said I will email this to those of you who want this, and so great. All right. Now, what I'd like to know from any of you is, what would you like do you have any comments? Do you have anything that you got out of this that you'd like to see that we continue on as a conversation? And do you have any questions that have come to your mind from this conversation we've been having?
I would just say that the whole concept of connecting with a group of people or being part of a team is really huge, because it's really easy when you're not connected to a group of people to just say whatever and go back to your normal routine instead of figuring out what the normal routine really should be. And so I like that idea, and I almost didn't call in tonight, and then I thought, yeah, well, maybe I should be linking some arms, and so I went ahead and called. So that's the big thing. So for me, it's just, I even almost sent you an email that said, I'll go tonight, but I'm not going to commit to every Tuesday night. And then I thought, well, that's stupid. So I'll see you next Tuesday night.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm grateful for that. That's awesome. And we're going to build. And what I'd like to turn this into is I'd like to go less Alex McMillan show, and I'd like to go more into our show as we move forward. And I'm just kind of setting a tone, though. I've taken a lot of advice from a lot of you, and I want to set a tone or a theme, because obviously this came as a mastermind from working with all of you. And that's what's great. Every single person that's on this right now was purposefully invited. It wasn't just some blanket email. I did invite some people, Facebook, saying, if you want to come in and sit in and listen, turn your camera off and just kind of come in, and just check it out, and I'll talk to you about it once I see that you came on. But it really is about me knowing you and you knowing me and us moving forward. Any other comments? That was awesome, Sherry. Things that you're going to tell me tomorrow when I ask you for feedback that you're going to hit me with. I'd love to hear it, and we as a group can kind of absorb it.
Alex.
Is that Stu?
Yeah, it is. It's me.
I can see the top of your head. I can't see your head. I see Chris there. There we go.
So this is one of those things where I feel deep inside me something that needs to be articulated, but I can't articulate it. It happens to me in these types of moments. And I've found lately that just starting the motor on the mouth often will start digging through those thoughts and get to somewhere. So I felt I had to speak up.
All right. Revving up. Right, baby?
Right.
Okay.
There's a lot to be had for just this, coaching in my life in the last year has become a major piece of what I do. And particularly in the last few months, it's been a major piece of changing who I am, building goals, having someone look in, and I will put out a list of, okay, these are all the things that I'm trying to do. And someone say, well, that's great, but you want to be there. So here's the key things that I see out of that mess that you're working with that I think will help get you there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that takes lots of diligent throwing it against the wall and seeing what sticks. You, of course, being the wall, and the stuff that's going around in my head being the spaghetti, to figure out what's going on. And it takes that kind of training that before you can internalize it for yourself. I think that's. I've found that I have a lot easier of a time pointing out to someone else, no, this is what you're doing wrong and this is how you fix it. And this is where your goals are off kilter with things than I do myself. So it's one of those things where people have to come together. It really is. The only things that matter in this life are the people that we associate with and build relationships with, the things that we create in our minds and with those relationships, and the knowledge and information that we gain. Everything else is just a tool to help us pursue those things.
Wow. I love taking a look at the aspect of the human element. The point is really about people. It's about us just literally being in that moment with each other and having those relationships and interacting, or being at one with the nature around us, and everything else is a tool to facilitate that. That's what I'm hearing in your voice.
Yes.
That's powerful. That is powerful. I know the night is growing late. I definitely don't want to leave this unsaid. I'm going to be doing a talk tomorrow. If you want to connect in person, I'm going to be going just in an amazing place of talking about transformation and breakthrough at a deeper level. And it's going to be at the Chamber of Commerce. I'm going to put this up on the screen. Have any of you ever heard of, well, I know Chris has. That's how I met you. And I met Chris and Stu, who just got through talking at a network event. It's called, what's it called? Does anybody know what it's called? Network Resource?
Leads and Needs.
Is it Leads and Needs or is it Network Resource?
No, it's called Network Resource. Anyhow, I'll send it out on the email. I'll send you the address to everybody that's on the call tonight. It's going to be at this place called Educational Service District 112, wherever that is on off of 4th Plain. And it's in the morning at 7:30 a.m. So for those of you who do get up early and like to come in live. And then I've got another event that I'm going to be at for me personally to learn. And I've invited, I think actually 4 or 5 of you on this are coming with me. Is we've got an amazing Dr. Henslin and Mark Payen from LA area flying up on the 15th on Saturday here in the Portland, Vancouver area, doing a talk on Shift, the keys to transformational success in your life and how to actually break through to make changes. And we're going to be doing some workshop-based stuff. So it's not just a talk. It's going to actually be us working out live together for a half a day from 8:45 or 8:30 a.m. to about noon on Saturday the 15th. And I think I've sent most of you an invite that are local. And if you haven't, just definitely ring my bell and I'll get that to you. All right. Well, does anybody else feel so compelled that they want to share something else or make a comment before we wrap up tonight and start to do the work? Because we're going to get out of this jacuzzi, start looking at doing the work, and then we're going to bring our stuff back. And as I start to see, if you can email me these, like a photo, take a picture of your sheet just so you can say, look, I did it. Here's kind of what my important things are that I want to work on. I can see it, offer some feedback, and then we can start to mastermind and actually share. And what I'd like to do is pick 1 to 2 people per week, and for 15 minutes, laser coach that individual and have you all see it, and then to have every people weigh in, and then we'll have a 15-minute discussion on other stuff that's relevant to everyone. And this will allow us to mastermind and help each other move forward in life. I think it's going to be brilliant if we come together and we keep, as Sherry said, linking arms. So this will be our new symbol, the link arm move. All right. Corny for now,
Alex,
but we'll see if we can actually start adopting it. What's that?
So I have a question about the sheet that we're filling out
Yes.
with the projects or the goals. Is there a certain theme, like are we focusing it on what we want to accomplish in a year or 5 years or before we die? Because I'm sure everyone has a ton of things they could put on that list.
Sure. Well, I think you start off with that other sheet, which is the what you want list and your current reality. That's just a way to start getting your brain going, right? And then the other sheet, which is the productivity planner, that one there is going to be very specific things that you need to work on now and you need to see move forward. So the top 3 projects in your life are the things that you want to see move forward. So for me, as an example, I'll give you a very specific example. On my big list of what matters most, I'm going to have things like literally teaching my children how to live an upright life by example, being with them, being there for them. I'm going to basically have goals such as being available for my friends and family and not so busy doing stuff that really doesn't matter in my life. Those are big out there, super goals. And there's a certain amount of income that it takes to live kind of like that free life. Not everything involves income, by the way. I'm just saying that there's certain things I want to do that involve some income. Other things involve just my time and where I'm at. And obviously you have to have some freedom to have some time, right? And then there's some other things of making sure that what I do for a living aligns with what I believe. That's the big picture stuff. But the project work might be stuff like this, where I'm specifically looking to build, like, as a matter of fact, Chris, because you're one of the health coaching team, you might be one of the projects that I'm working on. It might be help Chris go and exceed senior coach in the next 15 to 20 days. That could be one of my top projects. You follow what I mean? And I'm going to have my 5 things I must do to move that project forward. And who are the people I need to contact? I need to call Craig. I need to get some help from Tim. And I need to contact, for sure, Chris. And I've got to see, you know what I mean? So I'm being very specific about that. And I'm just giving you an example for yourself. And you have to decide what the top 3 projects on your list are right now. Not your biggest, hairy, out there life goals, but the things now. And by the way, that project, if you will, supporting Chris should align with my life goals. Because if I help Chris get free, it means I'll have more time with my family because I'm compensated well when she does well. Does that make sense? Also, at the same time, I see more people getting healthy. That fuels my fire to see more people getting healthy. It aligns with my mission. All right, I'm just giving you some specifics. Other last questions? I'll take one more. Comments?
Can you come to San Diego?
Can I come to San Diego? Oh, hey, how you doing, Truly? Good to see you. It's funny, I didn't tell you how you talked to that. Yeah, definitely. Who wants to go to San Diego with me? Anybody up for San Diego right now? We're all coming to San Diego. My wife would actually love to come to San Diego sooner than later, so that actually might be a reality for us here next month. So how's that?
It needs to be on what you really want list.
What's that?
Has to be on what you
what
really
I
want.
really want list. Yes, well, San Diego is one of our spots. Sunshine is actually on one of my really want list. I like sunshine. So good. All right, well, it's absolutely a joy, as you guys can see. I wear it all over my face on this. This is just amazing to see you all. Well, with that in mind, I look forward to your comments and your feedback. Hearing from each other, having an actual conversation is going to be key. So I resolve and I look for next week to see that this conversation is about 30 minutes long. We went over tonight. And the next thing is I'd like for me to not do more than 10 to 15 minutes of the talking. All right? But that'll be easy since we're all going to be working on this. We'll all have something to talk about. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right. You all have a good night.